Welcome, listener. Today we're doing a deep dive into a really personal and richly textured memoir, Fergus and Me, by Will Edwards. This isn't just, a story. It feels like a window, a vivid window into growing up in 1960s Liverpool, full of unexpected adventures, some hard-won lessons, and this friendship that really defines a lifetime.
Exactly. And our mission here is to sort of navigate this incredible journey with you. We want to pull out the wisdom, understand the societal shifts going on, and uncover those surprising aha moments.
Yeah.
The things woven into the fabric of this one person's formative years. You'll definitely get a unique perspective on a pivotal decade, and maybe, just maybe, reflect a bit on your own path, too.
Okay, so let's unpack this friendship. The narrator and Fergus, it kicks off with something so dramatic, it's almost hard to believe, right? And the narrator's just 11, appendix ruptures, peritonitis.
Yeah.
He's doubled over in agony, and it's Fergus who just knows something seriously wrong. Runs off to the post office, raises the alarm, basically saves his life.
I mean, starting a friendship like that at 11, that's incredibly foundational, isn't it?
Totally.
It's striking how, right from the get-go, this friendship is like the central pillar, the gravitational force in the narrator's life. It really highlights the profound impact certain people can have, how they shape who we become.
He even mentions his mom believed your life flashes before your eyes, but for him back then, there wouldn't have been much on his personal newsreel before Fergus stepped in.
Exactly.
And from then on, well, they're inseparable, celebrating little school victories, larking about with this rickety old pram trolley.
Almost taking out pedestrians.
Yeah. And just experiencing the simple joys like bonfire night, pancake day, always together, getting into scrapes, just being kids.
It's quite remarkable, isn't it, how kids, even in, the ruins of post-war Liverpool, had this ingenuity. The memoir really takes us into a challenging environment. Playing football meant literally gouging render off walls for goalposts.
And using debris, which were actually ruins from houses bombed in the Blitz, as their playground.
It really speaks to that human drive for normalcy, for play, even when things are desolate around you.
And you get these little details that show how deep the war's impact was. Like his grandmother, Nin, who couldn't stand thunder ever again because of the bombing raids, or buying a new player for their football team with threepence enough for 12 mojos or blackjacks. It just paints such a picture of a different era, doesn't it?
It really does. It shows how kids adapted, found resources, found joy, even with those scars of war all around. And the currency itself highlights that past era. But their resourcefulness, that's timeless.
The games they played, they weren't just fun, were they? They were like mini life lessons.
Definitely.
You had kiss chase and war in the playground, starting with those little sing-song chants, and their own version of kabaddi using the toilet block, trying to drag someone into the opposite sex's loo.
Right. And here's where it gets really interesting, I think. Knick-knock. Knocking on doors and running away.
Ah, yes, the classic.
It became this early, hook on adrenaline for them. But it also taught them a pretty harsh lesson, implicitly, about survival of the fittest.
Because of their system, right. Biggest kids at the front, smallest at the back.
Exactly. So the little ones often got caught. Shows the raw nature of things.
And you absolutely can't forget that incident where Fergus gets nabbed by an enraged Liverpool docker playing knick-knock.
Oh, yeah?
The bloke literally frog marches him to school. The headmaster puts the screws on him to give up his accomplice.
And they both end up getting caned for it.
And landing in the school's official black book, a label that apparently stuck with them.
That kind of thing really tests a friendship, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And it's such a contrast to the narrator trying to sort of suck up to the tough kid, Toby.
Trying to save him a spot in the line.
Yeah. Trying to curry favor with Toby, the cock of the school. But Toby just lets other kids push in anyway, leaves the narrator way back.
What do you think that taught him about real friends versus, alliances?
Well, it certainly hammered home why Fergus was the true friend, didn't it? Their bond was just deeper.
Deeper to the point of doing a blood brothers ritual, inspired by some Western they saw at the ABC cinema, with a rusty razor blade, no less.
You really can't get much deeper than that as kids. And that bond, it really shines through in that three-legged race story.
It's his sports day.
They're up against these formidable athletes like Toby and Rory. They fall at the start.
But then they find their rhythm, that little skip they worked out.
And they pull off this unexpected win, like their own little FA Cup victory.
Winning a model airplane for Fergus and a coloring book for the narrator, the atmosphere sounds electric. Kids just screaming for their mates.
Exactly. And if you connect that to the bigger picture, it's such a powerful little story about resilience, teamwork, and just the joy of taking part. Not only winning, it's an early moment of triumph. Sets a baseline, a feeling he later compares to his very last day of school. Pride.
Then comes the jump to secondary school. Balliol County, a secondary school for boys. And it's a huge shock.
Right. From kings of the primary school.
To babies all over again, facing a whole new pecking order. He's still in short trousers, kecks, he calls them, while the fifth years are shaving. He felt he had to establish himself fast.
And that's such a universal thing, isn't it? Transitioning, having to find your place again. His strategy, though, that brinkmanship tactic.
Inspired by Kennedy and the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Yeah. Applying this huge geopolitical event to playground survival. Basically, keeping his nerve, acting like he was ready to fight, hoping the other kid would back down. Fascinating.
But it didn't always work. He kept clashing with this smaller but tough bully named Jeff.
Jeff usually won, right?
Yeah, until this one really brutal fight. The narrator finally gets Jeff in a headlock, squeezes as hard as I could manage, forces Jeff to swear on his mother's grave to give up. Fergus apparently told him later Jeff's face went blue.
Wow. That's intense. And this whole section, it really paints a picture of the teachers, too, and just the discipline back then.
Oh, definitely. You've got Mr. Wilkins, well-meaning but totally weak, couldn't control the class.
Then the contrast with Mr. Sargent, the English master. Confident. Could control a class just with his voice. And he's the one who sparks that love for Shakespeare later on.
Right. Sargent even becomes deputy head, administers the cane, but by the book, never in his own class as punishment.
Which is so different from Pop Naylor, the maths teacher.
Yeah, Pot Nailer. The big man with large hands and disgusting orange fingers from smoking.
Yeah, resorting to brutal physical punishment for tiny mistakes. Like forgetting the units in an answer.
Getting hit for saying 18.86 instead of 18.86 inches madness. And his strictness meant kids only did one question, then had to queue up to get it marked, often with a slap.
Makes you wonder how much real learning happened under that kind of fear, doesn't it?
And his dad's reaction. If he got punished at school, his dad would just give him another clip around the ear, assuming he obviously deserved it. That was the mindset.
Totally. And then there was Mr. Pace.
Oh, Mr. Pace sounds terrifying. Administering the cane with actual venom, making boys fall down sobbing.
Grim. But his methods did lead to that clever bit of rebellion from the narrator, didn't they?
The carbon paper trick. Cutting his 100 lines down to just 25, a little minor triumph over authority. Love that.
It definitely gives you this palpable sense of the school culture back then and the post-war background still lingering.
Yeah, like the dreadful school dinners he mentions. Pig swill, he calls them. He'd rather skip them and buy sweets.
And the curriculum itself geared towards factory jobs, wasn't it?
Totally. They even dropped art in the third year. Deemed unnecessary for kids who would probably end up being fitters, welders, or machinists.
But he found his own way, didn't he? With art.
He did. Developed this secret love for it by sagging school, playing truant, and sneaking off to the Walker Art Gallery. Loved the pre-Raphaelites.
That shows that real passion finds an outlet, doesn't it? Even when the system tries to channel you elsewhere.
And speaking of classrooms, that Merchant of Venice lesson.
Oh, the book fight.
He only manages to read the first line himself before Mr. Sargent leaves the room. And then, boom, full-scale battle with books flying everywhere. Describes him as not at all aerodynamic.
Sounds like pure cathartic chaos. But then, amazing feats of teamwork to quickly stuff all the books back into desks when they see the teacher's shadow.
And somehow, incredibly, Sargent doesn't notice.
You have to wonder what the headmaster, that stern, gray-haired and mustachioed man, thought later when he saw all the books mixed up after they'd supposedly been cleaned and stocked. A real mystery for him.
The 60s, though, such massive social change happening, and the book really captures that vibe.
Absolutely. The Beatles phenomenon, for instance. It wasn't just music, was it? It was a whole cultural shift.
Changed everything. How music was thought about, the concept album idea. Even the words used. Before State Pepper, you had groups releasing LPS.
Then suddenly it's bands releasing albums with a unifying theme.
Yeah.
It's a great example of pop culture not just reflecting change, but actually driving it. And the older generation, often treating it with derision.
Like Bob Dylan's protest songs. The narrator admits he struggled to like Dylan at first, but the grown-ups hating it just made it more appealing to the kids.
Exactly. Drew that line between the generations. Really captured the zeitgeist Dylan sang about the times they are a-changin'.
And fashion became a statement, too. Growing your hair long, wearing hipsters those low-slung trousers.
And the narrator claiming to be the first hippie in Liverpool.
With his tie-dyed flares and a Make Love Not War t-shirt, you get such a strong sense of that counterculture emerging.
The memoir also brings history alive, doesn't it? Through Mr. Sargent's personal stories of World War II.
Oh, definitely. Dunkirk, the Battle of Britain. Hearing it from someone who was there makes it so much more real than a textbook.
And then that incredibly personal story about his own family during the Blitz in Liverpool.
The choice between the co-op air raid shelter and the pub cellar.
A common practice, apparently, using pub cellars.
They chose the pub. And the co-op shelter took a direct hit that night. Just sheer luck. The lottery of survival.
And the image of his grandmother, Nen, still defiant amidst the smoke and rubble, making his father play There'll Always Be in England on a salvaged piano.
Wow. Talk about the indomitable Dunkirk spirit. That's resilience.
Incredible image. And the narrative weaves in other world events, too. Kennedy's assassination, the narrator heard about it when he was just 12. The Vietnam War rumbling in the background.
But the story that really stands out is Jan Palach.
Ah, yes. The Czech student who set himself on fire protesting the Russian invasion.
His grave became a shrine. The authorities moved it, tried to erase his memory, but people kept leaving flowers where it used to be.
It's such a powerful symbol, isn't it? How individual acts of defiance, even seemingly small ones, can have these profound, lasting impacts.
Amidst all this turbulence, though, the Boys Brigade offered a bit of stability, a safe haven for him and Fergus.
Yeah, it seems like an important counterbalance, especially given some of the school stuff.
It fostered interests, too. Like astronomy, that's where his lifelong fascination with the cosmos began. And football, obviously, instilled Christian values.
It really highlights how different influences shape you, doesn't it? Especially when you're facing challenges elsewhere. And that battalion football league win.
Against older, tougher teams, Fergus scoring the crucial goal against the reigning champs, the 60th Liverpool BB.
Reinforces those themes again. Teamwork, overcoming the odds, and getting their medals presented by Billy Little, the Liverpool winger. That must have been huge.
But then the narrative takes this really dark, sudden turn, the death of Fergus.
Yeah, horrific. Canal accident. Fell from a makeshift raft into that murky water, infested with rats and leeches.
And despite men diving in, they couldn't find him in time. It leaves the narrator just shattered, this profound loss, the black dog of emptiness, he calls it.
And the guilt, too. Blaming himself for not persuading Fergus to go swimming with him that day instead.
How do you even start to process that at such a young age?
It's an immense tragedy.
Yeah.
And it's in that aftermath, isn't it, that the phrase carpe diem, seize the day, takes on this huge significance.
Fergus himself had been impressed by it.
Exactly. It becomes this almost prophetic theme for the narrator. Resolve to make the most of life, live without regrets. It really seems to guide his choices from then on.
His first step into the working world is slightly less profound. A temp job at Williams Toffee Works.
The Willy Wonka experience.
With a painful dental downside, he eats so much toffee he loses all his fillings and spills boiling water on his foot.
Ouch. Sounds like a real trial by, well, boiling water and sugar. Then he moves on to the engineering apprenticeship at English Electric.
Only because Fergus had applied, though.
Right. And what's fascinating is how quickly he realizes this is not for me.
There's that contrast again. The clean, tidy training school versus the actual dingy shop floor.
And those shocking safety lectures. Gruesome photos to hammer home the dangers. The company might have had a great safety record and reputation for innovation.
Wien's Award for Industry, even.
But the day-to-day reality on the shop floor was something else. Dangerous, monotonous.
And the actual work, the mind-numbing labor of making tools by hand. A pin vise, various calipers.
He just feels like a square peg in a round hole. Knows he'd rather be writing, playing music, looking at the stars. Definitely not a fitter.
But even in that environment, you get these glimpses of the factory subculture.
Yeah, the foreigners. Those side jobs done on the sly.
Yeah.
Paid for with fags and favors. Making personal stuff.
And that banging out ceremony when someone left, everyone hammering on metal for minutes, shows that unofficial community.
And the relationships he forms. Like with Doug, the skilled older worker.
Doug's life advice, crude but profound, right? On marriage, religion, ethics. Telling him his word as bond is crucial.
Yeah. And you also see that clear us and them mentality, workers versus management.
Illustrated by those clever, maybe subversive ways they'd beat the piecework system. Like Tom using a lathe to cut grease slots faster to get a bonus.
It really offers his critical insight into the problems with traditional British industry back then, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Compared to, say, emerging Japanese models like Kaizen that actually encouraged worker innovation.
The book suggests that whole command and control system based on military lines was cracking Britain. It just couldn't harness the ingenuity of guys like Tom.
And Doug's philosophizing about risk, that becomes really pivotal for the narrator, doesn't it?
Hugely. Doug contrasts the pointless risks, like the poor bloke who fell into molten glass and only his boot toe caps were found,
Grim story.
with the risks that offer real reward that make you feel most alive. He tells the narrator, if you always play it safe, you will probably lead a dull life. Sometimes it's a good thing to take a risk.
It's profound advice, really,
Yeah.
especially coming from Doug. He uses that analogy of cluzzing a tree, feeling most alive when you're out on a limb.
It forces the narrator to really think about his own boundaries, about what fulfillment actually means to him.
And it's right around then he discovers Robert Frost's poem, The Road Not Taken.
Which becomes this perfect metaphor, doesn't it, for his own decision to leave the safe engineering path for the road less traveled. He doesn't want to look back ages and ages hence with regret.
So he makes the leap, packs in the apprenticeship, even with only a year left, decides to become an entertainer for a summer season. Everyone thinks he's barking mad.
But he knows he hates engineering, doesn't even want it as a fallback.
That takes real guts, real conviction, choosing your own destiny over what everyone else thinks is sensible.
And it wasn't just him making big changes, right? This was the era, even the Beatles breaking up, Paul McCartney leaving.
Yeah, that reflects it too. It wasn't just about the music ending. It was about creative integrity, finding your own path. Kind of mirrors the narrator's journey on a different scale.
Then comes that college trip to France, Paris, and crucially, the D-Day landing sites in Normandy.
That seems like another turning point, really bringing those themes of sacrifice, the value of life, into sharp focus.
He sees the Bayeux Tapestry, then goes to Arromanches, sees the remains of the Mulberry Harbors, learns about Hobart's funnies, those specialized tanks his dad worked on as an armorer.
Tanks for clearing mines, destroying concrete bunkers, things like that.
And standing there amidst the memorials, seeing the scale of it all, it connects back to the personal, doesn't it?
Absolutely. That message, Carpe Diem, seize the day, it just solidifies. He feels that it's the one message the dead would want to send to the living.
It becomes this tribute to all those lost, including Fergus, and an imperative for himself, for the living. He realizes, unlike them, he has the chance to control his own life.
A powerful realization.
And the journey kind of culminates in this final, deeply meaningful gesture, visiting Fergus's mom one last time.
And gifting her the toolbox, the one he made during the apprenticeship.
Yeah, she was pleased to see me, invites him for tea, talks freely about Fergus.
It's such a beautiful symbolic act, isn't it? The tools. They represent Fergus's own engineering dreams.
And giving them to her becomes this tribute to their bond, but also shows the narrator's growth honoring his friend's memory while firmly choosing his own different path.
He realizes she understands him perfectly, sees the tools as a symbol of your journey, his desire to maybe fulfill Fergus's wish for him, in a way, by living fully. It's a powerful statement about how people live on, in memory, influencing our choices.
Wow, what an incredible deep dive we've just taken from, blitzed Liverpool streets to the beaches of Normandy, all through the eyes of this young boy becoming a man.
You really see it all, don't you? How formative friendships, the harsh realities of school back then, huge cultural shifts, even the daily grind of factory work, how all that shapes a person, their character, their worldview.
And how through it all, you get these surprising little facts and aha moments. The unwritten rules of playground fights, philosophical chats on a noisy factory floor.
Yeah. This deep dive into Fergus and Me, it really reminds us, I think, that while some paths might seem laid out for us, sometimes the most meaningful choices, the ones that define us, involve taking that road not taken.
So what does this all mean for you listening? Well, perhaps it's a nudge to reflect on your own roads not taken, or maybe, just maybe, to channel that enduring spirit of Fergus and truly try to seize every single day with purpose.
To carp the crap out of every diem, as the narrator puts it, inspired by Fergus.
Exactly. Thank you for bringing us this incredible material to explore together.